From the two straight up not talking to each other for months, to the showrunner being completely done with the actor's behavior. Here's what Taylor Sheridan really thinks about Kevin Costner. Now, to get an idea of their relationship, keep in mind, they haven't talked in months. In fact, it's like there's been radio silence on any communication between Kevin and the producers of Yellowstone ever since the whole feud started. See, here's the thing, there's been some bad blood lately between Kevin and the folks who make Yellowstone. But at the center of this entire fiasco are Sheridan and Costner, whose relationship has been torn apart. It started with Kevin wanting time off from Yellowstone to work on his new movie, Horizon. This is something that star's been pitching for almost decades, and now he feels like he's finally at a time in his career when he can make it. Now, working on this movie is hugely time-consuming. After all, Kevin is set to write, act, direct, and produce it himself. The guy's leaving no stone unturned when it comes to making sure that the film's top-notch when it comes to quality. But he can't be at two places at once, and decided that it was time to bid Yellowstone farewell. The problem is that he didn't properly end his filming, and reportedly even wanted to cut down his shooting time to just 1 week for the final season. Obviously, this was a big no-no, and Sheridan wasn't happy, especially with how it started to affect the rest of the cast, who might have felt like Sheridan was being way too non-serious about his work. And well, things got bad from there, leading to a massive feud. Though if you ask Taylor, he's supposedly still open to simply talking it out with Costner. While the two might act like they're sworn enemies, Sheridan, at the very least, is open to putting down the pitchforks and hashing it out one-on-one. But here's the thing, he knows that this isn't ever gonna happen. That's because the whole communication between the two got muddied up once the lawyers got involved. See, both Sheridan and Paramount got their legal teams on the case. And when that happened, it all devolved into a game of he said, she said. With lies and blaming getting mixed in, that's probably why there were so many rumors coming out of this whole drama, many of which were even contradicting one another. Sheridan even acknowledged how the lawyers ruined any chance of them being able to talk things over a phone call. He even remembered the last time Kevin spoke to him. And ironically, it was about his film, Horizon, and how he was excited to work on it. Though, even back then, Sheridan knew the writing was on the wall, and he could sense the feud that was about to go down between Kevin and Paramount. Obviously, the studio didn't want the lead star bailing from a show during the middle of production, but Kevin had had enough and wanted to book his ticket out of Montana immediately. Now, despite their feud, I feel there's a sense of respect that Sheridan has for Costner. Keep in mind that Taylor is a showrunner himself. He's got tons of spin-offs that he's created from Yellowstone, and doing all that couldn't have been easy. The guy knows how much you've got to struggle to make your dream project a reality. And on that front, I'm sure he empathizes with how much Kevin's trying hard to make Horizon happen. Every aspect of the star's life has suffered because of that project. He's had to give up personal finances by mortgaging his home, and his relationship with his wife suffered a major blow, even leading to her filing for divorce. And to make matters worse, you've got the whole Yellowstone drama, which he has likely burned every bridge possible over at Paramount. But despite this, he's shown that he's hungry for Horizon, and that's something that Sheridan, as a creative storyteller himself, can certainly respect. Sheridan even mentioned how he wishes Kevin the best of luck for the project, despite knowing that Horizon is what cost him Yellowstone. But hey, you can't have everything. And just as Taylor wished the film turned out well in the end, I too hope that all of Kevin's sacrifices are worth it. Because if after losing all this, the movie ends up flopping still, it'll be a huge blow to the star's career and his personal life. That said, this isn't the end of Sheridan and Kevin's relationship. In fact, the two might have had a bone to pick with one another for a while. Sure, there might be some level of respect there, but Taylor's been annoyed by Kevin a lot of times too. Especially when Kevin tried way too hard to take over the directorial duties of the show. The thing is, while Kevin might be going off and doing his project now, he's always had a knack for directing and producing, and sometimes started doing that on the set of Yellowstone. In fact, there was even a moment when the star asked for a scene to be changed, which rubbed Sheridan the wrong way. This caused the showrunner to tell him to stick to acting. Yikes. Now that's a rough response to give to anyone. But here's the thing. When you're working with someone like Sheridan, you've got to realize that he's probably got his idea of how the scene plays out. By butting in and disrupting his genius, you're just going to cause more issues. But this is something that Kevin never really understood. which led to him getting upset at not being given the creative control that he should have been allowed as an executive producer of the show. Now we can argue all day about whether Sheridan was in the right or Kevin was. But the truth is that it's Sheridan's show at the end of the day. He's the one who's made this franchise and spawned countless spin-offs. So for Kevin to question him and ask for changes to be made almost feels like an insult to the showrunner, don't you think? And turns out, Taylor has his version of this story. The showrunner mentioned that the real version of events is slightly different. Now, it's unclear if Sheridan's actually telling the truth or he's just trying to clear his name. But hey, it's worth listening to what he said, so we get the full picture. The showrunner mentioned that he never told Kevin to stick to acting, though there was a time during the show's second season when Costner didn't like the way the story was going regarding his character, John Dutton. The thing is, Taylor had this plan for John to become a more villainous character as the story progressed. You know, kind of like a Walter White type of person who's willing to go to any length for his family, even if it includes murder. But Kevin didn't want that. Costner wished that the character stuck to his roots, being all about his commitment to his way of life, and eventually being unable to adapt to the changing times. This creative difference was a big problem behind the scenes for a while, and eventually Sheridan gave in to what Kevin wanted and changed John's storyline in season 3 to something that the star approved. Obviously, this must have been annoying for the showrunner to deal with, since it basically ruined the route for the story he initially had in mind. But it shows that he valued what Kevin had to say, instead of telling him to know his place, like some of the initial reports claimed. And now, the showrunner is completely done with Kevin. In fact, he doesn't even care if the star returns for the show's finale. Sure, it'd be nice to have him there, but if Costner really wants to be a huge pain, Sheridan is more than willing to move along without his involvement. He even mentioned that they're going with the original ending for the show. And guess what? It didn't involve John in any major way. So it's perfectly possible for them to shoot the scenes with Kevin's involvement. Sheridan even added that the ending wasn't made, with Kevin's ego taken into account. So, whether he ends up liking it or not isn't a big concern for Taylor. He likely felt like saying this because there were rumors that Kevin wouldn't return to shoot the finale unless he was happy with the ending that his character got. But now it's clear that Taylor wants to be done with the star, one way or the other. I'm unsure how he's going to wrap up the story while also explaining John's absence in the last couple of episodes. But hey, I've got faith in Taylor to pull something great off. So from the showrunner being completely done with the actor's behavior, to the two straight up not talking to each other for months, that was what Taylor Sheridan really thinks about Kevin Costner.